welcome to the 14th episode of the But I'm Knitting podcast. My name is Ramona. I'm a knitter from Toronto, and welcome to my corner of the knitting world. This week, I have an FO, I have one work in progress, a few acquisitions, not necessarily yarn related, and I guess my plans for the summer when it comes to knitting. So I guess I'll start with my FOs. Guess what I finished this week? I finished both socks of the Strangling Vine socks. So just to refresh, the designer's name is Buhr, and the pattern is called Strangling Vines. The yarn that I used was Wollmeise Twin AL13 or 13AL for the heels, cuffs, and toes. For the main color of the sock, I used Woolen Vine yarns, Footsie Base in the colorway Pandora. So I still have a good amount of yarn left over, but this is another one for the box of socks and the Brown Bag Sock Club and the 12 socks in a year. These are all different sock knit-alongs that I'm a part of. So that's one that's ready to go. Unfortunately, it cannot count for the Canadian knitters Canadian sock knit-along because both the yarn and the designer are not Canadian. And it was also started well before the timeline given to start. So last time when you saw it, it was right where that stitch marker is, and I just finished it off. So I'm very happy with that. For my works in progress, I actually have two socks inside of here, but I've only worked on one sock. And that is my aunt's sock. So the pattern that I'm doing is called the Yorkville sock from Mina Phillips, or the Knitting Expat. It's a part of her New York sock collection. So I surprised myself this week because this was pretty much the only thing I picked up and I worked on because the pattern is really that easy. So here's the stitch markers where I was last week, and this is how far I've made it. I turned the heel. I am actually almost at the toes. I probably should do maybe a couple more rows and then I'll be at the toes, ready to close off. And I'm quite proud of that. The yarn that I used is the yarn that I dyed myself in the colorway Sweet Peach. I have a good amount left over for the first sock, but our feet are pretty much the same size, so I expect it to take me about 60, at the most 70 grams of yarn for this. So that's going well. The other sock I have in here is the gilded socks, but I haven't touched them. Everything's exactly where it was last time, so there's no point to that. If you want to see the progress on it, don't even look at last week, look at the week before, because I think that's the last time I worked on it. So, the bag that I'm putting them in, see, you can hold two pairs of socks. This one is from Crochet One Knit 2. She's a Canadian Etsy crafter, so got that one. I believe these are the teacups from Alice in Wonderland from the Tea Party. That's what I'm using it for. That's how I see it. I like it. So honestly, that is it for knitting related. That's not stash. I did not buy any yarn this week. I dyed one skein, so I guess I'll show that off. And it's basically just this. I basically just trying to go for a light blue, and I got a nice effect. If you saw 10,000 Stitches, she had a shop update, I think on Sunday, and she showed off one of her skeins that looked like clouds. That wasn't exactly what I was trying to do, but it kind of turned out like that. I was really trying to get yarn that was pretty much all like this color here. That's what I was aiming for, but it didn't quite spread out like that, but I like the way it turned out. It turned out really nice. Like, there's next to no white parts, and it's a lot of white. It does remind me of a cloud, but I don't want to call this the same thing that she called it. So I don't know what I'm calling it. I still got to reskein it, but that's it. The other things that I got last week. I had Tombow markers. They decided to put them on sale at my workplace this week because it's like they know that I need to be there to get more. I bought two more. I got the primary palette this time, and I got the landscape palette. So I didn't think I could like them more until I started watching YouTube videos about how people are blending the colors together. And just to show you what I mean, if you can see it. If it doesn't come through, I'll put a picture of it here. But, see that? Yeah, that's like one color to another. like the technique that they use is basically like they bleed one color into another, and it just works. Like I tested it out on here too. I just really like it. And then somebody else suggested you can make little hearts with it. So, with the tip of the marker. So I thought that was great. So this is me playing around my bullet journal, and for some reason that means I need to get every single color for that. So that's pretty much it. Yeah, I think this week is going to be a really, really short episode. So I'm just going to go over my general plans for my socks for the summer. That's pretty much what I'm making. So remember I got that container a few weeks ago? I filled it up with yarn. I haven't done anything with it yet, but it's all filled up. So as soon as I at least finish off that one sock for my aunt, I'm probably going to cake up one from here. So in my container here, I'm going to take off the lid. So in here I have four sets of needles. Maybe three. I'm not quite sure. I think it's 4. 2 sets of long DPNs, 1 set of small, and my circular DPNs. Circular needles, all waiting in here to be used. So that means that I could cast on 4 pairs of socks right now. I got some stitch markers in here as well, a pair of scissors, and progress keepers. So that's just what I'm keeping on the top right now, so I know where to find them when I'm ready to go. So the yarn that I have inside here. First one, I'm definitely knitting a pair of socks, but I still need to find a pattern. And this is for my Hedgehog fibers, the twist sock. I don't know what I'm going to be knitting out of this one, but I'm looking for something, a Canadian pattern that's very simple. So I still have to go through the list that's on the Canadian Knitter podcast list for Canadian designers. Because while I do know a few, the patterns off the top of my head are like tennises where they have like cables in it, and I don't think it's going to show up very nicely with this. Something's going to get lost with it. But I plan on making a pair of socks with that. I will definitely knit a pair of self-striping socks. So I pulled out Reporter Extraordinaire, and one of the mini skeins I dyed last week, that will probably just go with this one. I think that will go quite nicely together. I've also, one of my first dye experiments, I'll just do this. This was an attempt at a label, but it's horribly done. So this one is one I dyed myself, one of my earlier ones. This one's called La Marche. So it's not self-striping, but it will become variegated. So this one, I don't know what yarn I'm going to do, but what I'm going to do with it. But if you can actually see all of the different colors of Kool-Aid that I put into it, it actually showed up quite nicely with this one. So I have no idea what I'm going to make, but that's another thing. This one here, this is another Cheeto Dust print. This one is going to be a pair of socks for my cousin. I'm probably for these two, and for my other skein, which is the Antique Rose. Dusty Antique is what I'm calling it. The Dusty Antique. I'm probably going to be doing some of Mina's sock patterns, because I think they will work quite nicely for these ones. I don't know which ones I'm going to do yet. I just know that it will probably not be the Yorkville, especially this one, because my aunt and my cousin don't want to match very much. So these are going to be my socks, hopefully, for the knit along. All of these. So right now, for my socks for the year, I've done, I think, 5 or 6. Actually, let me go check. One moment. Yes, I brought back the sock bag box. There. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them in there. So these socks that I just finished, this is the 7th one. Let me actually take off my progress keeper. Actually, I'm starting to think I should do this as a tradition every time I finish a pair of socks that I pour in here. So my method of folding it. One sock and 2 socks. So that's 7 for the year. And I am still in the middle of the 8th pair, which is the gilded socks. So those are now inside there. Oh, one more thing. I don't know if you guys remember, I think it was from my first episode, when I showed off this yarn in the skein along with the other one, which is this one. And the label just came off. So these two, I actually dyed them at the same time. So these are Lamarche self-striping. So this is Lamarche, let me just say it properly, Lamarche, because I intended the name to be French. So this is going to be variegated, but I have no idea how it's going to turn out. So despite the fact I had done these at the same time, and while the purple and blue parts are identical, I don't know if you can see, they're like exactly the same. When I was trying to do this part, the lighter part with all the different colors in it, it pretty much turned into like a brownish dark pink color somehow, purplish brown. I don't even know what color it is, but that's what it ended up being. So I'm really curious to see how this turns out. I don't know if I'm just gonna, I'm like actually debating whether or not to knit it flat, but no, I'll do it with a pattern on the, whatever sock I do with this, I'm gonna do the pattern on the front, leave the back plain, just because I want to compare how they look together, how they look, especially for this one, because I'm really curious to see how that works. Because for this one, let me just open it up. What I basically did is I just took a regular skein, like when you wind it on your skein winder, and I just divided it in two, nothing else. And then one half got the speckles, and my speckles turned out pretty good. For my first try at speckles, it turned out pretty good. My further attempts look horrible. And then the other side just got dyed the blue and purple, right? So I'm going to see how well those work. Is it like this? No. And I realized also if I want to show up the way that I want to, just a hint to anybody who's dyeing yarn and they want it to look, come on. Okay. We'll forget about that hint because I think it just turned into a big mess. What I was trying to explain, I can't even think about how to explain it properly. So it's messy, but it's ready to go. I do want to try making speckles again and doing it properly, because when I tried it the last time, it never works out properly. Because what I really wanted, not necessarily speckles with these color, but speckles that are like this. That's what I wanted, and I have not been able to get that yet. This has been the closest, and I've never achieved it beyond that. So we'll see how this is. The only other thing about this is before I got my cone of yarn. So the yarn for this one is Lion's brand. Yeah, Lion's brand, in the colorway Marshmallow. It's a sock ease or something like that. I can't quite remember, but that's the yarn that I used to dye these up with. But it works out to being much more economical the way that I do it now. So we'll see how well that goes. So that's 7 pairs here, and by the end of this I want 1, 2, 3, 4 more. So that's 11 pairs that should be done by the end of summer. So that gives me until August 31st. Oh, plus the one I'm currently working on. So that's 12. So probably by the end of summer, I will actually have all of my socks done for the year that I'm supposed to have for the knit-alongs I'm a part of. We'll see how well that works. So nothing over the in the past week. Nothing's really happened other than me getting my hair cut. Hey. I went to I usually don't go to salons or anything like that to get my hair cut. My stepmother's a hairdresser and she just does it for me whenever I need it. However, the problem is that they moved far away and it's hard to get to. And then I'm also quite lazy about when you'll find new hairdressers. But there's one down the street and her price worked out well for me. So I went to her and got my hair done. It turned out pretty much like what I wanted. So it's like the top is longer. Like, yeah, it's kind of messy, but I kind of like the ability that I have to do that. And the sides are just really short. It really is one of those like wake up and go type styles, which is great. Since then, my mother and my brother, they left for their trip. They should be back by the weekend. That's honestly really it. Nothing much has really happened. I didn't record yesterday, mostly due to the fact that I was exhausted. I pretty much came home and I went to sleep. So I just decided, I'm like, I got nothing else to do today, so I'm gonna, after I came from work, I said I'm just gonna go and go to work, come home. Well, I did a bit of grocery shopping before I came home. I said I'm just gonna record the episode now and be done. Well, the only other concession I did was put the groceries away and put on my lovely pajama pants, because after this, well, no, I'm not gonna go to sleep yet, because I'm trying to go to bed at a reasonable-ish hour. So, because I do have work first thing in the morning, but then tomorrow evening I'm going out to the movies with my aunt and my cousin. We're supposed to go see Spider-Man Homecoming, so I am looking forward to seeing that. I don't know what theater we're going to go through. Oh, sorry about that. I don't know what movie theater we're going to, but I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, I guess I'll give my general review. I'm pretty much expecting that I'm going to enjoy it, because I pretty much enjoy just about every superhero movie, with a very few exceptions. So, well, that is it for this week, and hope you have a good week, and thank you for watching. Bye!